So our focus this week is going to be on guard sweeps. Let's talk about our main concept before we get into our techniques tonight. So our main concept for any guard sweep in jiu-jitsu is going to be to control a lever and then control our opponent's hips. If we can control these 2 points, it doesn't matter if I don't even know how to sweep somebody. As long as I can control a lever in my opponent's hips, I'm going to be able to make them fall down. So all of the sweeps that we learn in jiu-jitsu follow this concept. Okay? Any sweep that you can think of, as long as we're controlling a lever and a hip, we're going to make them fall. So we use the concepts to kind of troubleshoot our techniques. If I just know a giant plethora of techniques, but I don't really know why any of them work, it's not really going to do me many favors when it comes to actually applying them. So the position we were working on for the warm-up, the seated guard, is a really, really good position, and it's very simple to use as well. The reason that it's a powerful position is because it's forcing my opponent to have to put me on my back instead of me putting myself there. So in case you're confused as to what the difference is, a seated guard is where I'm choosing to start sitting on my bottom. A recumbent guard would be where I'm on my back, okay? Most guards in jiu-jitsu are recumbent guards. Closed guard, half guard, de la hiva, butterfly guard from the back, whatever it may be. However, the seated guard is a very easy option to utilize because I'm forcing him to get me to my back first. Now, we're gonna work on the seated guard tonight, but we always need to keep the headlights and the frames in our mind because when we're rolling and we're actually trying to apply these techniques, if I neglect keeping my headlights on my opponent as he circles around me, not only does he have the chance to get to my back, but it's gonna be very easy for him to get me back down onto the ground and start passing my guard. So wherever he's moving, I'm gonna constantly keep the headlights facing him, and my frames are gonna maintain the distance between the two of us, okay? So it's like if you've ever seen the early days of UFC, Hoist Gracie, the guy who kind of went in there and, was like all like, here's jiu-jitsu, he always kept that hand out to gauge the distance between him and his opponent. And that's the exact point of frames. I'm trying to keep the distance between me and this guy. Now, we're gonna start with the dummy sweep. This is probably the easiest sweep that we can do in jiu-jitsu. However, it's super high percentage even at the highest levels. Gordon Ryan is like a master of this sweep. Marcelo Garcia is like a master of this sweep. So it works even at the highest levels. Now, this particular sweep is gonna be one that your opponent's gonna kind of fall into, and it's called the dummy sweep because they're gonna feel a little bit silly for having fallen for it. But I'm gonna demonstrate it first, and then we're gonna talk about some of the core concepts behind it, all right? Let's check it out. Okay, guys, so with a dummy sweep, I'm looking for the indicator of my opponent's feet being squared up, meaning if his feet make a line parallel to my feet line, I'm gonna be able to do this sweep. If his stance is staggered, I'm not gonna be able to do this sweep, okay? So the moment I notice that my partner's feet are squared in front of me, I'm gonna start off by taking my feet and hooking them right behind his ankles. Now, all I'm trying to use these feet for is to just control these levers to prevent him from moving backwards, okay? So this is our lever control right here. Now I'm gonna control his hips by creating frames on his legs to prevent him from moving forward. Contrary to what most people think, the dummy sweep is not so much me hitting this person. In fact, if I hit this guy, it's gonna make it easier for him to kind of step that foot out. So if I just kind of like slam him really hard, he's probably just gonna step backwards. So I'm not trying to hit him with my frames, I'm simply trying to create frames and stop him from being able to move backwards. So as soon as I gain lever control here with my hooks, I'm gonna take my hands and I'm gonna be aiming right above the kneecaps. I don't wanna aim for the kneecaps themselves just because it's just unnecessary strain on the knees, okay? So I'm gonna aim right above, and I'm using our C grip, okay? I'm gonna aim right above the knees here, and as soon as I create this frame, I wanna try to contain my opponent's fall. A lot of times when people do guard sweeps, they think that if it doesn't work, doing it harder is the answer. And that's often not the answer. And the reason for that is because if I sweep this guy and he flies halfway across the room, I didn't actually sweep him. Not only could it be dangerous for him, but if I sweep and he like falls and flies backwards, well, that's awesome, but now he's just gonna get back up. So I need to be able to sweep somebody while maintaining control of them at point A, point B, and point Z. Okay, so again, I create my lever control here with my hooks. I'm creating the frames on his legs. As soon as he falls, I'm gonna kind of hold his knees in place right here. Now, my hands are gonna slide down to the bottom of the lever, and as I start to stand up with my technical get-up, we're gonna be moving towards them. Normally when we do our technical get-up, we're retreating backwards. In this situation, because I have double lever control and I wanna set up my pass, I'm gonna be moving towards them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold one of my legs underneath me. You choose whichever one works best, but I'm going to fold one leg. I'm going to roll forward onto the opposite foot and create my active toes behind me. Okay, this is going to be my force, or my base rather, to generate the force to get up into him. If I have dead toes right here, of course you can do it if you're really, really fast, but I would prefer you to have good base first as you're coming up. I always stand up with double lever control. The reason for that is because I don't want to just walk into this person's guard. Okay, I'm going to try to avoid this person's guard like the plague. So as I come up on top, I'm going to be controlling these levers, and now, as we know, I can immediately start setting up my guard passes from here. Okay? From a different perspective, in reality, when we're doing this sweep, guys, we're going to be starting off with the hand fighting, okay, because he's trying to gain lever access to put me on my back like we did for the warm-up, and of course, I'm not going to allow that, and we're going to be hand fighting here. As soon as I win this hand fight, my feet hook the knee, or the feet rather, I'm going to create the frames right above his kneecaps. I don't want to hit the kneecaps themselves, just right above, and I'm going to control his fall. As soon as he falls, my hands slide down his ankles. I can grab onto the ankles themselves. You can grab the pants. The pant is a proxy control, which is going to be very difficult to break. However, it's not going to give me as much control on the actual limb. So going for the ankle grip is going to be a stronger grip in this situation. When I'm ready to get up, I fold the leg underneath me, rock forward, active toes behind me. I come up the rest of the way, maintaining double lever control. Quick safety note for the top person. When you're falling, we don't want to fall from the top of our height. So if you're 6 feet tall, you don't want to fall 6 feet down to the ground. You want to make the fall as short as possible. So when I actually do this sweep on my opponent, my partner is going to start squatting down, getting their hips closer to the mat to make the fall less dangerous for them, okay? Anytime you're falling in jiu-jitsu, we always tuck the chin, think like we're looking at our stomach, and this is going to keep our head safe from smacking the ground, all right? As the person doing the sweep, it's my responsibility to make sure that this person stays safe, but it's also their responsibility to keep themselves safe. So again, we're here. I create the frames. He falls straight down, slide down to the ankles, fold and get up, and finish on top. I'll do once more without talking. As soon as we're finished on the feet, guys, you're all set. We can go ahead and switch one for one. Any questions? No, sir. Alrighty, guys, so let's go ahead and work through this one. Think about the concept, lever control, control the hip. As soon as their hip touches the ground, our hip needs to come off, okay? In jiu-jitsu, it's not a sweep unless our hips come off the ground when their hips touch. Okay, guys? On to 1, 2, let's go. Okay, super straightforward, and as you can see, this is a very easy sweep to hit. Granted, it's one that you might hit once or twice on somebody, and then once they kind of understand what's going on, they're going to know how to defend against it. However, it's kind of like a jab. It's just something easy that you can throw, and it's also very low risk, and that's important. Especially in the beginning, guys, we don't want to rely on super high-risk sweeps or takedowns or guard attacks or whatever it might be, because high risk meaning it has a big chance to fail catastrophically. Not as in safety-wise, but as in you lose position, you know, they pass your guard, whatever it might be. With this particular guard sweep, you're not really going to have anything bad happen should it fail, okay? If anything, it's just going to set up more attacks, and that's what we use when we do our guard module. We want to chain everything together to create our system of guard attacks, and it all can start right here with this dummy sweep. But now let's look at one more sweep tonight, and then we're going to go over some technical get-up details when our opponent has ankle control on us. We're going to look now at the double ankle sweep, and let's go ahead and contextualize this with the dummy sweep here. So I'm going for the dummy sweep, and maybe my opponent knows what's going on, okay? So I'm not able to actually hit the sweep. And my opponent defends this by moving forwards, okay? Maybe I don't get a chance to get the frames up in time, and he's going to start moving towards me. As soon as he starts moving towards me, I'm going to go to a recumbent guard on my back. So it's basically just like a recumbent butterfly guard right here. But my hooks are going to transition from the ankle to the knee, okay? Now, I still have double lever control because of these hooks. And a common phrase that we use, guys, is sticky hooks. We always want to have sticky hooks in jiu-jitsu, meaning wherever he moves his legs, my hook should kind of be attached to his. So as soon as I'm on my back and I have my hooks on his knees here, we can set up our double ankle sweep, okay? I'm going to demonstrate the double ankle sweep slowly, and then we'll talk about it. So again, I'm going to start with the dummy sweep just so that we can see it in context. So we're here, and I come up on top. Now, there's a lot of different variations for the the double ankle sweep. This is my preferred method, and the reason for that is because it's low risk, okay? Some of you are gonna be familiar with the double ankle sweep where both of our feet are on their hips, or where both of the knees are on the chest. These are fine, they work perfectly well. I'm gonna talk a little bit about why those options are a little bit more high risk. But let's take a look one more time at this sweep here. So I'm going for the dummy sweep. The person who's getting swept, we're just gonna take a couple steps forward, basically trying to force this person onto their back. If Coach Steph had his way, he would just essentially walk over my guard. Okay, that's what he's essentially trying to do. However, as he's walking towards me, I make the decision to go to my back, okay? I'm not letting him dictate what's happening. I make the decision to go to my back, okay? It's my guard, I'm gonna control it. So I'm gonna go to my back, and as soon as I do, I use my hooks right inside of his knees. So if we rotate a little bit here, just like with the dummy sweep, I have double lever control on my opponent. But now, instead of my feet being hooked on his ankles, my feet are hooked on his knees. Instead of pushing his legs, I slide down for my double ankle control. Again, we can go direct control or proxy control using the cuffs here on the pants. All right, whichever option you prefer. In this situation, I prefer the pant grip because this is a much harder grip to break. Now, once we're here, in order to make my partner fall down, I need to access this lever to his hip here, and I'm gonna do that by flaring my feet out. Essentially, I wanna externally rotate both of his knees to make him squat down. So again, we're here. I'm gonna gently kick my legs out to the sides. And notice how he's already fallen backwards. I didn't even finish the whole sweep here. The reason that this is so effective is because as soon as I externally rotate these knees, his center of gravity drops. As his center of gravity drops down, I'm now going to use my shins to push him backwards. If I use my feet to push, there's nothing to push against. So instead of pushing with my feet, I'm gonna use my shins to push him forward. Once he hits the mat, I'm ready to get up. So once we're in this situation, guys, I can sit straight up onto my bottom, but you're gonna find it might be a little difficult to get up from there. So for easier access of getting up, we're gonna lean onto one elbow, okay? In this case, I went to my left elbow. When I'm on my elbow here, I'm always gonna try to lift the opposite leg up in the sky because I don't want him to create base to start standing up. If we're both just sitting here looking at each other, now it's a race to the finish. Who's gonna stand up first, me or him? And because it's a race to the finish, I need to have every advantage in the books, you know what I mean? So what we're gonna do is, as soon as we're on our elbow, I'm gonna keep this hook in his opposite knee to make it more difficult for him to stand up. Now, just like we did before, I'm gonna do my techno get up, but I'm a little close to him. So I'm gonna hip escape first. Heels to the butt, hip escape, fold, active toes, put him on his back. Okay, so again, from another perspective, starting with the dummy sweep, he walks forward, I fall back, double ankles, and I come up. Try to fight the urge to just ride his momentum and stand up as he falls. And what that looks like is this. I make him fall, and I just kind of like magically fly up with him. That's awesome, but that's not realistic, okay? When you're fighting an opponent who's good, they're not just gonna fall over that easily. It's going to be a battle, and when his hips hit the floor, there's not gonna be that much momentum. So I'm not just gonna be able to magically fly up into space. So understand how to get up once we're here in this leg entanglement battle. So again, once I'm in this position, I have topside lever control with my hook. I'm always gonna grab that leg. So I'm just creating a frame with a C grip here. Heels come to the butt, come up on the knee, and put him on his back. All right, guys, I'll show one more time from this perspective in slow motion. Here we go. And of course, I'm ready to start passing his guard, provided I have that double lever control, okay? Does anybody have any questions on this double ankle sweep? All right, guys, so you can start just from the seated guard and just like go for it, but it would behoove you to start setting it up from the dummy sweep so that you see how these two sweeps work together. Okay, guys, ready, 1, 2. All right, this is looking good, guys. We have a couple details I want to touch on, and then we're gonna go over some extra details at the end to help us stand up if our opponent's a little bit smarter and they're trying to grab our ankles to prevent the get up. So first things first, for the double ankle sweep, the beginning's looking good, the entry into the sweep itself. This is a sweep that I can be proactive with. So if I'm here in the seated guard if I want to just go for the double ankle sweep and just kind of move myself into that position, that's fine. We just have to be able to kind of move our hips forward pretty quickly. Okay, so that's why I like to set this one up from the dummy sweep first. The tricky part, or the thing that some of us are having a little bit of difficulty with, is the get up at the end. Let's look at some common errors for that. We'll actually rotate here. So I make him fall. Again, I have the ability to just roll up and just stand up and get on top of him, okay? But I don't want to rely on my speed and strength to be the reason that a technique works. If a technique only works because I'm really strong or because I'm really fast, that's not a technique I should necessarily rely on, because it's not going to work on everybody. I want a technique that's going to work on a white belt and a black belt and everybody in between. So with this position here, when I make him fall down, I'm going to get onto one elbow, left or right, it doesn't matter. But when I get onto that elbow, I'm going to lift his leg up in the sky. Okay, if we rotate a little bit here. So I'm going to be lifting this knee up in the sky using the hook that was already there for the double ankle sweep. So we're creating what we call a placeholder system. In a placeholder system, I need to replace one thing with another thing. If I simply remove my hook because I want to stand up, well, now he can generate base with his foot, and again, now it's a race to the finish. Who's going to stand up first? I want to deny him base while maintaining my own. So to do that, I need to create a placeholder. My hook is holding this leg up right now, so I'm going to use a frame to hold that leg up. Now that allows me to retract my leg, getting onto active toes to generate the base to stand up more efficiently. Remember, our alignment principle is base posture and structure. It's like a scorecard, 3 to 3. I want to break down his base posture and structure while maintaining mine, okay? In this situation, I'm affecting his base and preventing his foot from getting to the mat while maintaining my base. When it's time to get up, I need to get away from him a little bit, so I'm going to hip escape out so that I can start to get up onto my bottom knee. I might need to do 2 or 3 hip escapes, but I just need to get up onto this bottom knee, and again, active toes to start walking myself up. If you're a leg lock person, of course, we can start fitting into Ashigarami right here, or if you're like a 50-50 person, we could start fitting into 50-50 from here, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, then we got to stand up, okay? I haven't swept him yet. I need to get up first. As soon as I get here, now we're done, okay, guys? So let's touch up a couple of the details, primarily on that ending part. It's going to take practice, and we have to understand how to stand up efficiently instead of relying on momentum to help us stand up. Again, that's going to happen. You're going to make somebody fall down really hard and really fast, and you can just follow them and pop up right away, but don't rely on that being the reason that you get up efficiently. The last thing that I want to address is just going to be what to do if they're controlling our ankles. So if we fall, we're here, I just did my double ankle sweep. He knows that I need to get my foot on the mat to generate base. So he's going to try to reach and grab one of my ankles because he doesn't want me to put that foot on the mat. So all we're going to do is, instead of getting up by putting this foot on the mat, I'm going to get up by putting this foot on the mat. So I'm just going to put that foot on the floor. Now, if he's still holding onto this ankle, as soon as my knee's on the mat, I'm going to start driving that foot down to the floor, and it's going to make it very easy to stand up in base. And now this feeds us really nicely into leg drags and all that sort of stuff. So again, the person on the bottom, or who just got swept, go ahead and just reach and grab one of their ankles, primarily the one that's on the top side. Okay, this is going to force me to start to get up on this knee, as opposed to, if we let go real quick, as opposed to posting that foot, hip escaping, and coming up, super technical. Now, I can't post that foot on the floor, so now I'm going to have to get up on my knee first, start to get that foot on the mat, and then stand up here. Okay, so play around with this, guys. This is a very common reaction because this person understands that in order to stand up, I need to get my feet to the ground to generate my base. Okay, guys? So let's go over one more time a couple of the things we're going to touch up. You can enter into the double ankle sweep however you'd like. You can go right here, proactive, or start with the dummy sweep. He walks forward. I sweep him. Focus on the ending. Get on that elbow, okay? And they're not going to grab yet. So again, I have my hook to control the lever. I create my frame to control the lever. I come out with my hip escape. If he grabs my ankle, I can't put that foot on the mat. I get up on my knee first, drive that foot to the floor. The last thing I want to touch on here, guys, before we get into our round, if we back up a little bit there, Coach, I want to touch on the differences between the double ankle sweeps. So both feet on the hips. There's nothing wrong with this. This works perfectly fine. He's gonna do everything pretty much identical, right? It's just that instead of creating external rotation to lower my center of gravity, he's gonna basically just push me backwards. This works great, but the problem with this, or the reason that this is not as high percentage as the first one, is because when his feet are on my hips, nothing's preventing me from bucking my hips forward and getting to leg drag, okay? Additionally, it makes it very easy for me to just grab his gi and kind of lock down on top of him. Whereas, if he has the hooks in, I can't leg drag, and even if I reach down to grab his collars, my center of mass is still being affected because my hips still have the ability to go down because his hooks are using that external rotation to drop my hips down as opposed to simply trying to push my hips backwards. Okay, so again, if his feet are on my hips, this is fine, we can do this, guys, but just remember, you're gonna start getting leg dragged here, or they're just gonna come down and grab your collars and then just start smashing your guard. Okay, guys, so again, nothing wrong with this one, it's just gonna be a little bit lower percentage and a little bit riskier than right here. Okay, guys, any questions? So let's play around one more time with the double ankle sweep, and then we'll get into the drills. 1, 2.